couple of seconds to let some people join, and then we will go from there. But very excited to have Lori Barsby with us today. As always, Ben Stein is here as well. And looking on Facebook, and it looks like we are live. All right, so let's just jump in. So as I mentioned, we have Lori with us today. Lori is the founder and owner of Love Lori, which is the brand that actually has been super successful on Amazon for the last 5+ years. Lori originally launched the product My Soulmate, which was a pumice stone 2-in-1 with a moisturizing soap. Has really taken advantage of the opportunities with Amazon to grow her brand, and has, I believe, 10 or 11 different products under Love Lori now. Lori is from New York, lives in New York with her 2 rescue dogs, Gizmo and Charlie. She's going to take us a little bit through her journey today of where she was and how she got to where she is today. So Lori, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for the introduction. So I got started. I got started on Amazon until 2014, but actually my journey started many years before that. And the way that it did is the night before September 11th, I had spoken with my brother on the phone, and we spoke about everything from professional life to personal life, and he was telling me how he wasn't really happy with his job. He had a really good job in the World Trade Center. He was 29 at the time. He had a whole, future ahead of him, and he said he wanted to do something more entrepreneurial in spite of the fact that he was doing really well. And the next day, he was unfortunately killed in the attack. And I didn't know it exactly at that time, the very next day, but that phone call and the fact that he passed away the next day is what would set the trajectory for my career and for what I'm doing now. So after 9/11, I did go back to corporate America for a few years, but I accidentally came up with a foot care product. I was a salsa dancer for many years, and I was always rubbing and cleaning my feet like extra well. And I just one day took the soap and the pumice stone. I don't know how familiar guys are with it, but I feel like these days guys are getting more pedicures. So
Loosely familiar.
Okay, there you go. So it really just makes your feet really smooth. It's like a stone that is very gritty. And so I took the soap and I took the pumice stone, because you have to wash your feet as well. And I kind of just squashed them together. And I'm all about convenience and 2-in-1. Anything that you can make more convenient for me, I'm all about. So I was like, wow, this is amazing. And it lasted for like a couple of days. And then when it ran out, I was really sad. I was like, I need to get more soap to squish onto the pumice stone. So I decided to make it myself. So I, with the help of a few friends who had been in the infomercial industry, because I had no idea, of course, how to like manufacture a product or bring it to market. And with the use of Google, I did a lot of searching and researching and figured out how to get it made. That took about a year, and we make it in China. So I worked every day with China for a year, only over email, to get this product made. I never even spoke to them on the phone.
Wow.
So when I had it made and I had inventory, I was like, this is it, like I'm going to be like rolling in the dough. And that didn't happen. So I had my first way to launch it was going to be via infomercial, because that is what somebody told me to do. And I was like, yeah, sounds great. Infomercials were really popular at that time. And I knew that a competitor of mine at that time was doing like $500 million a year. So I was like, I'm going to do $500 million this year, obviously, right? I'm going to do an infomercial and that's what's going to happen. And nothing could have been further from the truth. I invested a lot of money into the infomercial. I invested money into inventory. I didn't understand how the DRTV world worked and that you have to really pump in like millions of dollars to gain sales, and that really the end point is to get it into retail. Like, I didn't know any of this. And so as soon as it started airing, my infomercials like a couple of times, and I made like literally one sale, I called them right away because I was paying for that media as well. I called them right away and I said, stop, don't do this anymore. And I just cried a lot. After that, I had a few PR successes where it was on Good Morning America and, written up in a couple of places. And from those few media outlets, I got big boosts of PR, and I did like a landslide of sales. And so again, I thought, this is it. I'm going to be a millionaire. And that didn't happen. Like a few days after each one of these like press things happened, it just went back to zero. So this was going on for a couple of years. I tried kind of different things. I wasn't a salesperson, and I wasn't going to go door to door selling my product. Because I wanted to either make like a lot of money with this or none at all. And I knew that like going from one nail salon to the other was not going to get me where I wanted to be. And if it did, it would take like 1,000 years. And I'm actually not that ambitious. So I kind of at one point just threw the towel in after another failed infomercial attempt. With another company who had actually licensed it from me. So when that didn't work out, I started working again in corporate America, and my stock, my inventory was just sitting in a warehouse, and I happened to see somebody post something on Facebook about buying things from stores and reselling them on Amazon, which is, I think, like how the majority of people get started on Amazon. So I took a course, and I learned how to go to stores and scan everything with my phone, and then, bring it home and package it and send it into Amazon. And, at first I was like, this is a dream come true. I get to shop all day, like TJ Maxx. I love going to TJ Maxx. And I can't tell you like how quickly that got old. It got really annoying. It was getting harder to find things, and also like carrying all the stuff home. I live in Manhattan. I didn't have like a car to just pack all my stuff in, and I'm getting on the subway with all these bags of stuff and then packing it and all that. And I was like, this is terrible. I don't want to do this. So, and then the light bulb just went off, where I was like, wait a second, I have my own product that I invented. Duh. Like, I've been doing this, not even like thinking about selling my own product. And
right.
So I had a Facebook following already from like years of talking about this product. So people already knew about it on my Facebook page. So when I posted it on, or when I created my listing on Amazon and I let everybody know, it became a bestseller in the first 3 weeks that it launched. So it took me 6 years of, trying all these different avenues. And it wasn't until I found Amazon that it became successful. And then from there, it did still take me about 2 years to really start building out my brand, because quite frankly, I was afraid. I didn't really, buying inventory, and I'm a sole proprietor. Like, I didn't have a partner, so I was, funding everything myself, and I was afraid to like order like thousands of dollars worth of merchandise from China. It's not anything I had ever done, but after 2 years, I saw like a lot of people were making a lot of money, and I felt like if those people can make money doing this and they can figure it out, I can figure this out. So I kind of got out of my own way, and now I have 10 products, and I run a very tight ship. I only sell things that sell well. I'm not interested in, having 97 different products that each one sells two or three, because I like to keep things really simple. And that's where I'm at now.
Right. So awesome, and I really appreciate the background to get us to where we are today. But I think one important thing that we spoke about just before was how using Amazon back in 2014 and Amazon in 2020 are very different, and especially in terms of product launches. And I know we're going to touch on it a little bit on what your plans are for the future, but do you want to give a little chat about when you started to launch your product number 2 or number 3 on Amazon, and was it easier than the first pumice stone, or was it harder? And were you learning on your own, or were you having different groups to help you, or what was that like?
So yeah, for sure, I was in like a lot of Facebook groups, and I learned a lot from so many people. The Facebook community, the Amazon community, everybody really helps each other a lot. Especially, there's all these little different groups of different people, and when you're in whatever group, everybody for me had been very helpful. And if it weren't for them, I wouldn't have figured this all out on my own. I was definitely figuring out a lot as I went along. Today, yes, today's a whole different ballgame. So back when I started the pumice stone, and even 2 years after that, I consider myself to be one of the OGs of private label sellers. I think I got in really early. So there was really not a lot of competition, and all you have to do at that time, if you're selling a commodity type product where other people are selling it, and you're just trying to differentiate by creating a brand name, all you had to do back then was have a nicer picture, and you can just, as long as you knew what you were doing to pick products, like that's also a bit of a skill. So I think I had a knack for that, for figuring out the formula in order to find what products would work really well, as opposed to, doing products that everybody else was doing and thought that they could just make money because everybody else was making money on a garlic press or whatever. I knew how to find products in the niches, but once I did, even if somebody else was selling that, it was still really easy to make money and launch products. Now, sorry.
No, I was just going to say what you did was to what you knew, and within your brand, within your world, and didn't say, oh, that's a hot seller garlic press, and that's a hot seller frying pan, and that's because then you're all over the place. And with at least in my understanding is you can go back to potentially the same manufacturer in China or wherever, and they sit in the world that so perhaps if they don't make exactly what you want, you can work with them and create something that will differentiate you even more.
Yeah, totally. I wanted to build a brand. I didn't want to just sell random products. So at first I did go onto Amazon just trying to make money, but as I saw what I could do, I set out now to do what I'd originally wanted to do before Amazon, was create this foot care brand. So of course, I wanted to have complementary products, and also of course, the way that algorithms work is to have complementary products, because when somebody buys one of your items, as we all know, Amazon will then say, people who bought this also bought this, and so that increases your chances of getting another sale from the same person. So it just made sense to me to, build out this brand and not just and something that is an asset, basically. Because I think when you have a brand and you have a brand loyalty, and you're not just some random kind of product that came up on the first page, that has a lot of value.
And I love what you're saying about building a brand and building assets and having that brand equity and really building that following. It seems like over this nearly 20-year entrepreneurial journey that it sounds like you're still on the track and still very much in the middle of, that you've been able to build a brand, you've been able to scale that with like products and really add on those complementary products.
And
But to,
sorry.
yeah, I was gonna say, to that point, like, what's the decision process like for you as a brand owner who's really trying to speak to your customers and build that brand equity? How does that sit with your overall strategy?
Well, this is also why in 2020 things are really different now. So because I have this brand equity, people will look specifically for products from me and buy them. And that's the most important thing today, because that opportunity that I had in 2014 and 2015, 16 doesn't exist anymore. You cannot just like find the product now and put up a nicer picture. I mean, the amount of sellers that are on now than there were, 6 years ago, I don't even know, maybe it's 10 times the amount, 100 times the amount. Like, the competition is fierce. So if you know anything about SEO and algorithms, you know that like to get to the first page when you're using a keyword, you have to have a lot of reviews, you have to have a lot of sales. And so if you launch a product on Amazon and you have no prior history and there's a lot of people already selling that type of product, the only way you're going to get to the first page organically is by not being organic, basically. You're gonna buy your way into that, in maybe some kosher or non-kosher ways, but that's
No, I think that's a very great point, is that the competition has increased tenfold. The competition among sellers, especially within verticals and then within products too. If you want to launch an add-on product these days, it might be a lot more difficult now than it was 5 or even 10 years ago, or 2014 when you first launched. So I think that's a very, very great point that you're making, that you really have to take all the data you have in front of you and make those educated decisions to invest in SEO, invest in marketing, invest in product development, or whatever it may be, to help further your brand forward, because your customers are expecting great products from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I could be expanding my product line and adding more complementary products. I could, but while I do have brand loyalty, still a lot of times on Amazon, people are still going to go for the lowest price point products.
Mm-hmm.
They like other stuff by me. So that's where it gets tough for me to really, make a substantial amount, or sell a substantial amount of new product that is complementary to my existing brand, because those products already been on Amazon by other sellers and they're already on the first page. And for me to get to the first page, again, I'd have to buy my way in. So yeah, I might get sales from the people who like my brand, but that's not enough, So. Right. So what you have to do these days, so people will still contact me and say, hey, I have this product. I know you sell on Amazon. Can you help me? And I'm like, no, because 5 years ago I could, but now it's got nothing to do with Amazon. There was a very small window of time where you didn't really have to build an actual brand and you could make money. And like I said, that period is gone. You have to build brands. This is the only way to build anything that is going to be sustainable and that is going to really be of any value if you say wanted to sell your company. So that's what I'm working on now, is actually also trying to build my brand off of Amazon.
Right.
Because the amount of effort that it's going to take me to get people to go to my product listing, a new product listing right now on Amazon, is the same amount of effort it's going to take me to drive people to my website. So at this stage in the game, I would prefer to put that effort into building my brand off of Amazon. This way I have more control over my business, and I can really add a lot more products.
And I think the evolution of your brand that you're explaining right now is is the trend that we've seen over the past few years. Amazon, and I would say even all marketplaces for that matter, are professional sellers who are building professional brands. It's no longer, as you mentioned earlier, it's no longer someone who's going to TJ Maxx and grabbing everything they can from the clearance or maybe something that's an off-price item and reselling that and finding that arbitrage. But it is professionals who are selling products, building brands, building customer loyalty, and really, evolving into that omni-channel strategy of selling on a marketplace, selling on their own website, or connecting to customers in another way.
And we really look at it in terms of diversification, right? You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket, and that basket being either Amazon, or if you wanted to set up on Walmart or this marketplace or that marketplace, you are still dependent on the marketplace. So, when you do set up your own website, which I'm going to share across the bottom here, love-laurie.com, you control it, and you control the traffic, and the work that you have to put in to get the traffic there. But like you said, over the last now 15 years or so, you've been really building up that following. So you're going to have people that can go there and then tell their friends about it and run promos to something that you totally control.
Yeah, because I have to say, Amazon has been great for me, and it's going to continue to be great for me because I'm still going to use it. But to your point, you have control to a certain point, but there's many different things that have happened to me and other people over the years where, I don't know, there was a glitch or something, and they took down my bestseller and I couldn't get it back up for days, and it was just by accident. Or even just in the past few weeks, one of my products lost its sales rank, and I went through 7 different seller support people over 7 weeks, and none of them could fix it. And finally, I figured out how to fix it. And and I lost a lot of money because of that. But if it was everything was on my website, I would have control. So that's been, that's really frustrating. And again, it's not to knock Amazon, but I prefer at this point and this stage of my business, really, especially after you reach a certain level. That product that was taken down, that was my bestseller, that was costing me thousands of dollars a day, that I was losing in sales. And that's not okay. So that's why I'm also now focusing on driving more traffic directly to my website.
So speaking of other things that are out of sellers or brand owners' control, COVID-19 and then the impacts of that on e-commerce and how we've seen the rise of e-commerce has had a myriad of effects on supply chain, people being able to get inventory, the competition on Amazon. So can you speak a little bit to how you've adapted in these past few months and, some of the concerns you've had or the problems and things that have either limited your growth as a brand or what you've done to overcome those?
I'm not sure I'd use the word adapted. I'm just kind of rolling with the punches. That's all I could do in my position. I didn't need to, this new buzzword. I didn't have to pivot. I was very fortunate in the way that my products, my business really benefited from COVID-19. I feel kind of bad saying that, but I did because they're foot care products. They're, things you go to the salon for. Nobody could go to the salon. So people really started buying, foot care products to take care of their feet at home like crazy. And I didn't expect it because, in the beginning, we all thought we were only going to be locked down for 2 weeks. So it didn't occur to me. And then one day my sales just were fivefold. And it still took me a few days to put it together. And then I was like, oh, this is not going to last that long. And it did. And it was bananas. And it was great on one hand, and then it just destroyed me on the other hand and a lot of people I know ran into this where, we or I, you plan your inventory based on projections and what you did last year. And so I only have a certain amount of inventory at a time. I'm manufacturing in China, so, it takes 2 to 3 months to get an order from there to here. So I sold out of everything in a flash. So, I was up here and I was this is amazing. And then when I sold out, I mean, I just went from like 0 to 0, and it was, it was. I tried not to be too upset about it because I was still, listen, I had a good run, but then it was really hard to get new inventory because
Right.
China was shut down, their factories were shut down, so I had to wait for their factories to open up, and then of course the logistics and everything. So I was sold out of everything for like 2.5, 3 months. And not only that, Amazon was also, since they were limiting the inventory that you could send in, and then they, it was taking them a really long time for them to check things in. So, adapt. There was nothing for me to really adapt to. It was more that I just had to accept it, and and just kind of not get upset about it, knowing that I had already made all these sales, and so now everything is back and running smoothly. But I will say that, so I'm not doing the sales that I was when COVID-19 started, even though everything's back in stock. States are starting to open up again. People are starting to go to the salons. But I will say that it still did give me a boost that still remains. So I'm still doing more business now than I did before COVID. Not as much as I was right after, but yeah, it's been really good.
So now we go post-COVID world, although we're all technically still in COVID world, and looking to Q4, which technically starts a week from tomorrow. And what does that look like for you? I know we just were talking about how Prime Day is going to be the second week of October. Did you have to adjust your inventory projections to make sure you don't run out again? Because this is unprecedented to have Prime Day, a month or so before, holiday sales really get going into Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and all that. So did you make any adjustments to your inventory projections on there?
I guess I did adjust a bit, and where that, but it's also just, I took a risk where, I just ordered more inventory. Like as soon as everything opened up in China, I've just ordered more inventory at one time than I've ever before, which has been kind of scary, but it's on its way. An entrepreneur, we don't know what's going to happen, right? And I just don't want to find myself in the same predicament I was, where I sold out of everything, and especially it's Q4 coming up. But this is, this whole thing has made it really, really hard to project, how much inventory I should buy. So I kind of just guessed, just again, I know eventually I'll sell through the stuff, but
right.
I'd rather right now have more than less and have a little less sleep about how much I've had to invest into products. But part of being an entrepreneur, especially if you want to just do it on your own, which I do.
And that's like what I know from sellers is, a lot of times the issue is either capital to buy the inventory or whatever that looks like. And then they know that they can always sell more. They're experienced sellers. They know, especially you being on the platform for, 6+ years now, like that you're an OG, as you said. So you know what it works. You know how the algorithms work. You know how to make your product stand out from the next guy and the next guy who's just trying to get a couple sales from you. So, what I think is, yes, it's a risk, as you mentioned, to get more inventory than you would normally, maybe this time of year. But, if you go into January and you're still selling, great. You're still selling into February or March, and maybe it delays another order, but you know that you can sell it eventually. You're not going to be stuck with, 100 pallets of pumice stones, right?
Yeah, that happened to me in 2014, but not this time around.
Different worlds. Because I think also what we talked about is, the buying habits have changed, where people that had traditionally only bought in stores had to, in the beginning of COVID, go online, and a lot of physical stores are may be open depending on where you are, and with a product at a really good price point of where you are, people will be able and willing to buy that online for other people or for themselves. Like, it's a great gift as well.
Yeah, that's another thing. I think why I did well during COVID is that my products, I mean, my average price point is like $12.
Right.
So this is not, people were, are no longer, they lost their job or whatnot. $12 might be something like, okay, still I'll get this and I need it because I don't want my feet to be gnarly. As opposed to like, some luxury item that you usually buy with disposable income. So yeah, I've been fortunate in that way as well.
Yeah, I think that's to sum it up a little bit, I think that's a great point of, you talked about product selection and choosing, new products to complement your single product is probably take that into consideration, the price point, the, effect that it will have on people, where someone's going to spend $10, $12, $14 for something with such a great impact on them. In this example, they can have clean, non-gnarly feet every single day at home for $12, or, maybe they can sit in their nice sweatpants at home on the sofa. But they're not breaking the bank. It's not a luxury purchase. It's not something that they have to think about, well, we're in this economic downturn.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, with that, Lori, we want to say thank you so much for joining us. We really had a great time, I think, learning about your journey as a seller, talking about branding, and hearing a little bit more of your story. So from there, we'll go ahead and give you the final word.
Oh gosh. Well, I would just say there is no timeline for success. First of all, it took me until I was 38 to even figure out what I wanted to do. And it took me another, 6 years to really get it figured out. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, I think there's no time like the present, especially to be in e-commerce, because if anything, this COVID-19, like you said, has just added that many more people to people buying online. So now's the time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lori. And what we're going to do here is, let me just put across the bottom, we've actually taken all of our videos from the last, I think we're about 27 or 28 of them, and put it on a specific landing page, so it's very easy to access for anybody to follow any of them. And it's right there, register.payoneer.com / the state of e-commerce. Lori, again, thank you so much. And we really appreciate having you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.